Hello, hello, and welcome back to the podcast. So happy that you are here today. It has been a hot minute since I have sat down to record. I am now almost 7 weeks postpartum, and it has been a couple of months. I can't believe it since I have actually sat down to record an episode, but I'm so happy to be back. I think the last episode that was posted, I had recorded prior to giving birth. So I am back. I have a new, beautiful baby boy, Nadav, and my life is so much fuller now in so many ways. But I'm really excited to get back to the podcast, and we will be resuming our weekly schedule. Today's episode is all about perspective, changing your perspective, or if you want to think about it like a filter on your life. A few episodes back, I mentioned a quote unquote, shit filter. And that is when your lenses on your glasses are dirty, they're negative, whatever. You have a shit filter and you need to clean them off and have a crystal clear, beautiful, sparkling filter. So filter or perspective, however you want to think about it. That's kind of funny considering that is the topic of today's episode. Okay, so this topic actually came to me before I gave birth. I am in a what to expect when you're expecting. It's an app on your phone. If you have had a baby and maybe you use this app, you know what I'm talking about. And there are forums based on your birth month. So I was in the June 2024 birth month, and people can post all sorts of questions or ideas, whatever. And so I was on there one day, and actually I saw more than one of these posts, many posts where people talk about being induced and the impending induction date with this sense of doom and gloom. And oh my gosh, I have to be induced. This is horrible. Or I am terrified. Or what if this goes wrong? What if I have to have a C-section? What if my body hates the drugs? What if my body hates the process and it leads to all of these other bad things happening? And just doom and gloom. Now, I am not discrediting fear, worry, concern over health, but I saw so much fear that was probably unwarranted, a lot of what ifs, a lot of fear-based stories based on what the person had been told by somebody else. I knew I wanted to be induced because we wanted childcare for our toddler, Zyla. So we wanted to know that it was planned, that it was happening, and that was that. So the induction was more or less planned, but I did not have a negative mindset, if you will, around the whole thing. I didn't really have much fear. I wouldn't allow it in. That's not to say that there weren't moments of, "Ooh, I hope this is going to be okay," because there were. But I was looking at it from an educated perspective. In my past life, not my past life, years ago, I was a birth doula. So I have the education around what happens during an induction. So I'm grateful for the education aspect of it, but also the mindset piece. So I was going into it with a very positive mindset, a very positive perspective. And I'm not going to share my entire birth story because that's probably not why you're here today. But I will say that this birth was so easy. I hate to say that because I know so many births are not easy. They are challenging. There are things out of our control sometimes. But for me, I had a really strong grip on my positive mindset and how I wanted this birth to go. And Rick Ross always says it's too easy. And I was thinking about that before I gave birth and during the whole process. I just kept, that was like my mantra. It's too easy. And you know what? The entire thing was too easy. It was pretty painless. It was actually fun. There were funny moments, and the birth was fast. I pushed the baby out in like a minute or less. It was so easy. And I credit most of that to my mindset and my perspective and not going into it with this fear like, oh my gosh, what if this happens? What if my body reacts this way to the medication? What if, right? Because that would not have served me well. It would have made me physically tense, right? Our mindset impacts everything. It shapes our reality in many ways. And this birthing process for me was a huge teacher in that what I was, thinking translated to what I was feeling and became my actual experience. So I wanted to share that story with you today because perspective is so powerful. And I also know from firsthand experience working with clients that our mindset does shape our reality. And the most significant transformations happen when we can have a positive mindset. So, the purpose of this episode for you today is to help you shift your perspective. Maybe you need to shift a lot. Maybe it's little tiny tweaks here and there. We'll get into it. But the goal is to help you really make those tweaks, make those shifts in your perspective or your filter to unlock new opportunities for yourself and or to bring you closer to what it is that you are looking to achieve in your life. You can apply this to literally anything. So I want you to think about areas of your life as we're talking or as you're listening to this episode and where you can make those tweaks. So your perspective is how you interpret the world around you, and it's influenced by your values, your beliefs, your experiences, and your emotions. Two people can experience the exact same thing or the same event and interpret it in entirely different ways because they have two different sets of values, experiences, emotions. So this is why perspective is so freaking powerful. It literally shapes our reality and it influences our actions. And this goes right back to the story I told a couple minutes ago about the induction. One person may have an induction where they're giving birth and they're full of fear. They don't know what's going to happen. They think XYZ nurse is out to get them or whatever their negative thought process is, whatever their negative perspective is, maybe based on what someone else has told them or something they've read or whatever. Fear perpetuates fear, by the way. So there's that perspective. And then you take mine, which was very positive, and I had a very positive birth. Hopefully, the person who was fearful of the induction does not have a quote unquote negative or fear-based birth. But let me tell you, it's a lot easier to have a positive experience when you're thinking positively. So that's what it means when you can have the exact same thing happen to you, like an induction, but your perspective can be completely different. And therefore, your outcome is going to be completely different as well. And let me just say here that a positive perspective does not in any way mean that you are ignoring challenges, you are ignoring your fears or your limiting beliefs or whatever it is that you feel is in the way or it's hard to think positively. I'm not saying that. It's not about ignoring. Yes, absolutely work through that stuff. A trained coach or a therapist can help you work through those challenges. I'm not saying to ignore them, but it's really about recognizing the challenges as opportunities for growth. So if there are some like really deep-seated things there that need to be worked through, yes, absolutely work through them. I'm just telling you that shifting your perspective can provide huge opportunities for growth. I want to share the top 3 ways that a positive perspective or a beautiful filter can help you. And I was thinking about this, and these 3 things are based on my own personal experience, and they are also based on my clients. And I was thinking about the different ways in which I've coached my clients and shifting the negative self-talk, negative self-beliefs, and all of those things, tweaking things to create a positive perspective or a pretty filter. Okay, so number 1 is having a positive perspective increases your resilience. What does that mean? Like I was talking about challenges a minute ago, when you can see a challenge as an opportunity to learn and grow, you're more likely to persevere through tough times. And I'm going back to that induction story again. So in this case, say maybe you are feeling nervous because you are being induced for a medical reason. I was not induced for a medical reason, by the way. I made that choice and I was empowered and I was positive about that choice. But maybe you're going into it and the decision has more or less been made for you. Now, you don't have to follow that advice, by the way, but maybe you have a medical induction coming up and you're fearful. What is a way that you can become resilient through that? I can think of one way. There are many ways. One is to become educated on the process, because when you know what to expect, you're going to be less fearful. When you know what medications you're going to be given, what are the outcomes of receiving this medication, what is it going to do, how is it going to help me, you will naturally build resistance as you, in this case, educate yourself, learn more, and therefore become more resilient in more situations than just this one. It can build on itself and it will build on itself. This one is my favorite, and having a positive perspective enhances your creativity. So instead of just getting stuck in the mud or stuck in the fear is coming up a lot here. I want to do an episode all about fear. But instead of just getting stuck and there's no way out of this, anywhere I turn, it's just a shitty option. No. How can we jump over the mud into the grass or whatever that proverbial thing is for you? How can we get creative to encourage looking for solutions rather than just feeling stuck? So this is a practice. It is not easy, but when you have a positive perspective, you are therefore more naturally creative. It's pretty cool how that works. And lastly is having a positive perspective builds confidence. And this confidence is kind of built based off of the last 2 things that I was talking about, is of enhancing creativity and increasing your resilience. So when you believe in your ability to overcome obstacles, you will boost your self-esteem, therefore your confidence. And when you have been working on your creativity to solve problems and your resilience, you will naturally become more confident. Let's talk about the steps to actually start to make these tweaks and these changes in your perspective. Okay, I have 5 steps that you can take in any situation, like I said. So maybe think of something right now where you feel that you could really use a few tweaks. Maybe it's around a goal you have for your health, but it feels so huge. Maybe there is weight that you want to lose. Maybe you want to go to the gym more often, but you're feeling stuck with how much time you have. Or maybe it's around improving a relationship in your life. Okay, so the first step is self-awareness. How do we do this? Pay attention to your thoughts. What is going through your head? How are you talking to yourself? What are you feeling? Pay attention to what you feel in your body. Pay attention to your emotions, especially in those hard situations when you're feeling stuck, when you're feeling fear, when you're feeling defeat, or whatever that challenging thought or situation is. Really feel it and identify it. Are you focusing on the negative or are you focusing on the positive? Are you quick to judge yourself or judge others if it's a situation that involves somebody else or a relationship? So ask yourself those questions and awareness will start to come to you around that situation. So self-awareness is huge. It is the key. It is number one in changing your perspective. Number two is to challenge those negative thoughts. We all have them. I think it's something like 60,000, I think it's 60,000 thoughts that we have a day, and 80% of them are naturally negative because our brain wants to keep us safe. I did talk about this in a previous episode. So it's very natural. It's very normal. Don't judge yourself. But when you catch yourself thinking negatively, challenge those thoughts. Get creative with it. Ask yourself if these negative thoughts are based on facts or assumptions. Consider other viewpoints. Get creative here. How can you think positively? How can you start to challenge those negative thoughts and therefore have a more positive perspective? Number three is to practice gratitude. So what gratitude does is it just shifts your perspective on what's going wrong to what's going right. And it can also lead to more self-awareness, which was number one, which is great. So when you can regularly take the time to reflect on things that you are grateful for, no matter how small. I say every morning, I am so grateful for this coffee, for my latte. It is so delicious. I just savor it. I make it this beautiful moment. I'm just so grateful. And it's such a small thing, but it's not. It's really not. So, and that's perspective again. Maybe coffee to somebody is just a minuscule detail of the day, but for me, it's this beautiful experience and I savor it and I'm grateful for it. So practicing gratitude can really help you cultivate a more positive outlook on life. And the more you practice it, the easier it gets, the more fun it gets, the more creative you get. And just thinking about those quote unquote small things can help you identify those big things too. Okay, so number four is to reframe situations. So trying to see situations from different angles. For example, instead of seeing maybe a mistake that you made as a failure. Oh my gosh, I'm a huge failure. I fucked up. Oh, I'm just stuck in the mud here. I can't win. How can you view it as a learning opportunity? And I encourage you to write it down here. Write down what the mistake was. And then how can you learn from it? How can you grow from it? How can that be kind of the silver lining in that growth piece in challenging situations, in moving forward, making it better next time, shifting that perspective? Okay, so reframing and just finding the silver lining in those really hard situations. And last but certainly not least, because this is so important, is to surround yourself with positivity. And that is people, that is places, things. Surround yourself with supportive, positive people, places, things that encourage you, and those people that help you see the best in yourself, that don't judge you, that see the best in you and your circumstances. Now, a life coach will do this. I can do this if this is what you are looking for. But surrounding yourself with that positivity keeps you at that level or that temperature. Think of like a temperature gauge. And I have my hands up if you're watching this on YouTube. You want to be at 100 degrees, but you keep falling down to 60 degrees. It's probably in part due to what you are surrounded by, your environment, the people that you are around. This is so, so important. So surround yourself with positivity. Those are the 5 tips that I have for you today. Okay, so before I sign off, I want to challenge you to think of, let's say, 3 areas of your life, big or small, where you can start to shift your perspective. It could be around your health. It could be around relationships. It could be around business, career, family life, anything that you are feeling, ooh, I could really use a better filter. I could really wipe the shit off these glasses. Sorry for the really disgusting visual. I could use a positive perspective on this. Think about 3 areas. So I'm challenging you to think about 3 areas, identify them, apply these practices that I shared with you today before next week's episode. And if you want to share with me, I would love that. It means the world to me when you reach out to me and you let me know an episode has resonated with you, or you have an idea for an episode or whatever. So please share with me. I will leave my Instagram. You can send me an Instagram DM. You can email me. I would love to chat with you. So that is my challenge to you. And with that, I will chat with you next week.